When Charlie Kirk was assassinated in 2025, the world expected a grieving widow. What it got instead was a spectacle, pyrotechnics, sparkly suits, a political tour that looked more like a pop concert than a eulogy. So the question haunting America is simple. Is this grief or a performance? Before you hear a single detail of this account, I want you to pause for one moment and ask yourself something uncomfortable. If the worst day of your life happened in front of cameras, millions of strangers, and a global audience hungry for judgment, would you survive it? Because this is not just the account of a public murder. This is the record of what happens after the cameras stop rolling, after the hashtags fade, and after a widow becomes a symbol instead of a human being. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because accounts like this disappear fast, and the truth usually disappears even faster. On a bright September afternoon, the world changed for Erika Kirk in the most violent way imaginable. Her husband, Charlie Kirk, a man loved by many, hated by many more, was gunned down in public while speaking at a university event. Within seconds, a political figure became a headline, a breaking news alert, a trending topic. And within seconds, Erika became something else entirely, the grieving widow of a public execution. But the moment grief went public, it stopped belonging to her. From the first hours after his death, Erika was watched, not just observed, evaluated. Her words were analyzed, her posture dissected, her face paused and replayed in slow motion by people who had never met her, never held her hand, never seen her cry when the cameras weren't there. And in that moment, an invisible expectation was placed on her shoulders: grieve correctly or be punished. At first, sympathy poured in, candles, prayers, messages. But sympathy has an expiration date on the internet, and once it expires, something else replaces it: suspicion, mockery, rage. When Erika stood at a podium days later, voice shaking, eyes red, speaking about the man she loved, people didn't listen to what she said, they watched how she said it. Was her voice too steady? Were her tears too delayed? Did she pause too long? Did she dress too well? Did she stand too straight? The comments flooded in like a storm. She's acting. This is fake. No real widow behaves like that. And that is where this account takes a turn, because the world decided it knew what grief should look like. Some widows collapse, some go silent, some disappear. Erika didn't. She spoke, she stood, she continued, and that choice alone became a crime in the court of public opinion. Social media exploded with videos mocking her expressions, freezing her face mid-sentence, turning pain into punchlines. Memes spread faster than condolences ever had. People who had never lost a spouse, never buried a partner, never explained death to a child, suddenly became experts in grief. And here's the part that should make you uncomfortable. Millions watched it happen and said nothing. The pressure didn't just come from critics, it came from supporters, too. Erika was expected to be strong for the movement, strong for her children, strong for the legacy, strong for a nation of people who saw her husband more than a man. She was expected to carry his mission, his vision, his political weight, while still bleeding inside. Imagine being told your grief must be quiet, but your leadership must be loud. Imagine being told to heal privately, but perform publicly. And she tried. She stepped into leadership roles. She attended events. She showed up when people expected her to disappear. And every time she appeared, the criticism grew louder. Too soon, too polished, too confident, too emotional. There was no version of Erika that satisfied the crowd, because the truth is simple and brutal. Some people didn't want her to grieve, they wanted her to break. Behind closed doors, she was raising children who would never again hear their father's voice. One of them, only 3 years old, would grow up with memories shaped by photos and testimonies. And when Erika spoke about that, when she told the world to think about the cost of its words, Many still laughed, still mocked, still shared the clips out of context, still turned pain into entertainment. This is where guilt enters the room, because every share, every comment, every joke, every reaction fed the machine that crushed her humanity. And the machine didn't care if she was real or fake, it only cared that she was watchable. Even when she described seeing her husband's body for the last time, even when she spoke about moments no widow should ever have to remember, people didn't hear heartbreak, they heard performance. And once that idea took hold, it spread like wildfire. People decided the tears were calculated, the words were rehearsed, the grief was a show. But here's the question nobody wanted to ask. What if it wasn't? What if this was simply a woman trying to survive the collapse of her world while standing in front of millions who demanded she do it gracefully? Every move she made became a test. Every appearance became evidence. Every sentence became fuel. And in the background, something deeply disturbing unfolded, the transformation of grief into a public spectacle that no one could turn off. Erika didn't just lose her husband, she lost her right to mourn privately. She lost the safety of anonymity. She lost the ability to cry without being accused of lying. And worst of all, she lost control of her own narrative. The cameras never stopped. The commentary never stopped. The judgment never stopped. And through it all, she kept standing. Not because she wanted to, but because she had no choice. So the next time you see a widow in the headlines, ask yourself this: are you watching a performance or are you watching survival? Are you listening to an account or are you consuming a moment of someone's worst pain as entertainment? Because one day, grief will knock on your door too, and when it does, you'll understand something that no comment section ever could. There is no right way to break. If this truth made you think differently, share this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Help others see the human cost behind viral moments, because every view can either feed cruelty or spread understanding, and the choice is ours.
And after the cameras faded from the podiums, after the speeches ended and the crowds went home, something else happened, something far quieter, far lonelier, and far heavier. The silence arrived, because grief is loud in public, but it is deafening in private. When the doors closed and the lights went off, Erika returned to a house that no longer felt like a home, a house filled with unfinished conversations, untouched belongings, and rooms that still carried the shape of a man who would never walk through them again. No audience was there to applaud her strength. No critics were there to correct her posture. Just the weight of absence pressing in from every corner. And this is where the public stopped watching, but where the pain actually began. Every morning she woke up to a world that had moved on without asking permission. News cycles shifted, hashtags disappeared, and yet her reality remained frozen. The same questions echoed day after day. How do you explain death to a child who keeps asking when daddy is coming home? How do you answer without breaking? How do you keep going when the person who anchored your life is gone? But even then, even in those moments no one could see, the judgment still followed her. If she posted a photo, people questioned her timing. If she stayed silent, they accused her of hiding. If she smiled, they said it was over it. If she cried, they said it was for attention. There was no safe choice, no correct response, no winning. And that's when the guilt becomes impossible to ignore. Because while the internet debated her expressions, her children were growing older. Days were passing that could never be replayed. Bedtime stories were being read by one parent instead of two. Holidays were being rewritten. Traditions were being broken and rebuilt in real time, without a camera, without applause, and without sympathy. Yet the commentary never stopped.
Strangers still felt entitled to her grief. They demanded explanations. They demanded consistency. They demanded that her pain make sense to them. And when it didn't, they punished her for it. Because in the digital age, empathy is optional, but judgment is instant. At events she attended, people whispered. At places she avoided, people speculated. And in every silence, someone filled the gap with a narrative of their own. Her identity was no longer hers to control. It had become a shared possession, passed around by people who would never have to carry the consequences of being wrong. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Every click kept it alive. Every share extended the pressure. Every reaction trained the algorithm to keep going. The machine learned that grief holds attention and used it. Months passed, then more. Anniversaries came and went. Dates that only she remembered suddenly resurfaced online, revived by strangers who treated them like content. On those days, she had to relive everything, not because she wanted to, but because the world reminded her to. Still, she stood. Still, she showed up, not because she owed anyone anything, but because collapsing was not an option when children depended on her breathing, moving, functioning. And yet even strength was criticized. She's doing too much. She's doing too little. She's changed. She hasn't changed enough. The noise never stopped. And maybe that's the most devastating part of all, the idea that grief is no longer allowed to be private, that pain must now be curated, edited, and approved by people who have never walked through it. So let this moment sit with you, because one day it won't be Erika, one day it will be someone you know, and one day it might be you. And when that day comes, you will understand how cruel the world can be to people who are already carrying more than they should. You will understand how quickly compassion disappears and how easily pain becomes content. If this narration made you pause, if it made you feel something, share this video so others can hear it too. Subscribe to this channel for more accounts that go deeper than headlines. Turn on notifications so you never miss a voice that tells the part of the truth that usually gets buried. Because the way we treat people at their weakest says everything about who we are. And the next time grief appears on your screen, remember, you are not watching entertainment. You are watching a human being trying to survive. And that deserves more than judgment.